All right, Nuggets fans, welcome in to Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by our good friends over at BetOnline. I am your host, Ryan Blackburn, at NBA Blackburn on Twitter, part of the Mile High Sports Podcast Network. And I am here. I am ready to discuss Denver Nuggets' loss last night to the Dallas Mavericks, 123-120 in the NBA Cup. Denver's effectively eliminated from NBA Cup play at this point. Not that many of you folks really care that much, but Peyton Watson at the podium last night said, yeah, we're playing hard, 500K on the line. And that was 500K that the Nuggets will now not get. We will talk about it. We'll talk about it all on this particular episode. I'm curious to see what the response is to this one. I'm going to break down Jamal Murray's struggles. I've got some numbers to kind of back up what's going on with him, and some, I think, optimism, just kind of in the face of a whole bunch of scrutiny. We'll talk about it. Really quickly, though, this podcast, as you know, it's brought to you by the good folks over at BetOnline, the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything sports betting. All you got to do is make sure to check out their list of NBA props, NFL props, NHL props, lots of different options. And you can watch along in live in-game betting, and you can watch the games as they happen on the app. Head on over to BetOnline today to get in on the action on America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline, the game starts here. All right. Once again, I'm your host, Ryan Blackburn. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Going live at a different time than I usually go. Just the way that the schedule worked out this time, I wanted to make sure to be able to do a podcast over the weekend. Knew I wasn't really going to be able to do a post-game show tonight, so wanted to do one now. Going to be interesting. Going to be interesting to see what happens with Denver. They're now 8-6. Nikola Jokic returned last night, looked very good, looked kind of angry. I'm not going to lie. Some of the fouls and some of the non-calls and things like that, he was definitely getting very frustrated with Brett Barnaky and Mark Davis, who that man is just like every time he's on an officiating crew against the Nuggets, it looks like a war out there. And it's got to be very frustrating to the Nuggets. And Nikola last night, I asked him, like, do you like getting a little bit more of a physical game? He's like, yes, but there's a line that you cross that if you cross it, then should call a foul, but he didn't want to get fouled. Or he didn't want to get fined, is what I mean. But Denver loses last night 123-120 against the Mavericks. No Luka Doncic. Jokic looked great, obviously. 33 points, 17 rebounds, 10 assists. Denver was down about 24 points in this one and ultimately stormed all the way back. It was a great job by Michael Porter to kind of get them back into the game. Jokic was relentless. Denver was running in transition. A lot of good things happening. Murray had 11 assists. But the issue, obviously, is that Denver was unable to close. They were unable to get it done ultimately, and that they dug themselves that hole in the first place, I think is another issue entirely. Like, why were you not able to get up for a game like this? Why did you just assume that Joker was going to paper over all sins? I know that guys like Peyton Watson and Christian Braun weren't the issue there, but Jamal Murray, Michael Porter, they started the game very slowly, started the game poorly. Porter got the scoring going. Murray did set the table a little bit as a passer, but there's just a lot to be bothered by, obviously. Murray's in a slump. We're going to talk about it. Jokic was relentless, though, and the Nuggets ultimately figured some stuff out. Russell Westbrook came in, and the Nuggets trusted him to hit threes, and he did. He shot 4 of 6 from 3 and was playing pretty good basketball, good enough that the Nuggets decided to close with him over Christian Braun. And the Nuggets went with Murray, Russ, Porter, Peyton Watson, and Jokic. And in the moment, I was like, it's interesting to go away from Christian Braun after Malone had previously, when Russ had played well, still gone with the young guys, still gone with the wings, the versatility, things like that. And in the last 5 minutes, I think it proved to be the wrong decision from Malone. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was a bad decision, but it was the wrong one. Russell Westbrook didn't really affect the game in the closing minutes. Denver struggled with their lack of size. PJ Washington got to the rim against Murray. If they had had Christian Braun in, does he get to the rim against Christian Braun? Is Braun a little bit better in some of those situations? Probably. DJ, and Snowwolf says it here, it was a close and exciting game. The DJ dunk was awesome. Really thought that we would win that. I agree. Honestly, I agree. It was great to see DJ come in because Dario was just getting muscled under the rim by Daniel Gafford in the first half. And the lob that Jamal threw to DJ really got the crowd going. It got the timeout, I believe, from Dallas. It felt like Denver was roaring all the way back in this one, and it felt like they were going to win. And ultimately, Denver was up by about, I think, 5 points in the closing minutes, like 2.5, 3 minutes to go. And then Jamal gets lax on the defensive end on multiple possessions in the row. Obviously can't happen. He played 39 minutes, so I understand why it happened, but it still can't happen. And he allows PJ Washington, Najee Marshall, guys like that just to get right to the rim and score over the top of him. And he fouls PJ Washington trying to chase him down and allows an and one. And suddenly the game is tied. And the defense collapsed so hard on Jokic in those close minutes, like right at the end, that Denver couldn't really make him pay. Russell Westbrook got blocked twice in the last 5 minutes of the game at the rim. Jamal Murray, though he did get a couple of grenades kind of thrown at him where the ball was like, it was ball thrown out to him on the perimeter with like 2 or 3 seconds left on the shot clock. He has to create something out of nothing. Still missed him. Still wasn't really capable of hitting it. And then Denver suddenly down 4, and they intentionally foul Russell Westbrook. Last possession, Murray just not passing the ball and getting fouled himself, and just a lot of things that I thought was like Denver's lack of attention to detail in this game, Murray's lack of attention to detail. I just didn't really understand it. Clearly he was tired. Clearly he was fatigued, and clearly there's a lot else going on. But that lost Denver the game, as it has. So, look, you can't put the loss entirely on the back of one guy, but we're all going to be looking at Jamal in this one. We're all going to be thinking about what ultimately happened. 14 points, 11 assists, did have 3 blocks, but I thought the defense overall wasn't great. 4 of 16 from the field, 4 of 11 from 3, which means he was 0 of 5 from 2 and only 2 free throws. Obviously got up the threes, and it's important for Denver to be able to space the floor, and those threes do count for something. But Murray was getting a lot of open shots. He got some open drives to the rim and then a slightly contested shot, and it didn't ultimately go down against a Dallas team that I think is going to give Denver some problems in the playoffs if Denver can survive long enough to play them. I think that Dallas is really good and showing without Luka Doncic that they can match up with Denver physically. They can battle back strength-wise, and if it's a situation where you get a Mark Davis as a referee or you get somebody else that's willing to let some contact go, then Jokic is going to be like double hand pushed in the back all the time and like being leaned on and elbowed, and like Derek Lively got away with a lot of stuff. Daniel Gafford especially got away with more stuff. And just the willingness to kind of throw everything at him and knowing that they were going to get the benefit of the doubt most of the time, I think that definitely affected things. And the physicality, I think, bothered Murray. I don't think he wanted to go into the paint. I don't think he wants to, I just don't think he's very comfortable and confident right now. And that is definitely a storyline for Denver. That's definitely something that they're going to have to figure out over the course of these next few weeks, few months. I hesitate to say that it is going to be a problem for the entire season, because the season is very long. 14 games into the year so far. There are 68 games left to go. When you put it into that perspective, think about this stretch that Denver's done. You get 5 more of them, effectively. 5 more. And so there's a lot that can happen in 5 more stretches of about 12 to 14 games of basketball. So I'm not going to sit here and bury Jamal entirely, but I am going to sit here and say that he is slumping and he's got to get out of it as soon as frickin' possible, because it is looking ugly. And I look at the numbers and I look at what's going on with him. From a plus-minus perspective, it's actually really good. Just 2-man net ratings across the board. I'm looking at Murray and his pairings with every single player on the team. Jokic and Murray plus 15, Jokic and Braun plus 13, Jokic and Porter plus 12, Jokic and Gordon plus 12, Jokic and Vlatko. Sorry, Vlatko, you're out. Jokic and Murray and Dario. It was Murray and Porter. It was Murray and Dario plus 5.9 now. Murray and Watson plus 5.8. Murray and Jordan plus 4. Murray and Westbrook plus 3. The only 3 players that Murray is currently negative with, Murray and Julian Strawther minus 0.5, and then 5 minutes with Hunter Tyson was bad, and 12 minutes with Zeke Naji was the worst thing I could have possibly imagined. So from a plus-minus standpoint, the Nuggets have not been as affected by Murray's slump as one might believe, as one might think. Usually in those situations, what we've seen from last year is that when Murray would stagger with the bench, it was the worst, most horrendous thing we've ever seen. Honestly, that hasn't fully been the case, and I'm kind of surprised when I look at those numbers, because the eye test tells me that Murray's struggling horribly as a scorer. The rest of it is not as bad as I thought it was. I look at his career numbers and what he's doing right now. It is just the scoring. Like, he's going to obviously have some problems on the defensive end for sure, but he's also had some good moments there. His assists are back to where you want them to be, around the 6 to 6.5 range. Rebounding's fine, steals, blocks, whatever. Turnovers are also, like, he's at 2 per game. So it's not that bad. But what I will say is that the scoring matters. Scoring matters more than just about anything. On the season, Jamal is now shooting 39.7% from the field. That is over 5% worse than his career average. He's at 33.8% from 3, so it's not that far off from 3 from where his career is at, and a good stretch can get him back on track. The real problem is that I just don't know and just don't necessarily think that it'll happen. There's one thing to be in a slump, and I think we're finding that with Murray. Like, what it's being talked about now, and Murray said it last night, it's a slump. He's in a slump. He feels like he's in a little bit of a slump. What we need to understand, and what we actually need to fully try to figure out, the Olympics were a slump. He was injured back then. He's not injured now. The playoffs were a slump. He was injured then. He's not injured now. He was up and down and inconsistent during the previous regular season. Had some injuries, obviously, but even when he was healthy, it was still not great. He was kind of figuring some things out before the final injury that he had, but I'm just looking at it and I'm just trying to figure out, is this just who he is at this point? Is this the level of scorer that the Nuggets are going to get? Somebody who is inconsistent, somebody who is not as confident in their ability to drive to the rim, accept contact, finish over the top of people, finish athletically. Right now, Jamal does not look athletic. He looks slow. He looks bothered. He looks concerned about his drives and what he's doing, and just kind of backing up some of those numbers. This year, he's shooting 38% on catch and shoot threes, which is fine. It's below what he shot last year, I believe. He's shooting 30.8% on pull-up threes and 42.6% on effective field goal percentage. That's like combining twos and threes together. Last year it was 52.8%. So he's got a 10% drop in his pull-up shooting right now. So that's part of the slump. He's uncomfortable. But he's also shooting 41.3% on drives, like field goal percentage, 46.3% last year. So he's down 5% there. I'm not sure as much that that's a slump. I just kind of think that that might be who he is. And that is concerning, obviously, for a lot of people. So I don't know how to talk about this because here's the other thing. And I said this on Locked On Nuggets last night. Denver can't trade him. Like, this isn't a thing where they could solve their problems in the middle of the season. They might trade him at the end of the year when the expiration on his extension, like the actual, like you have limitations when you sign an extension. You can't be traded for a certain period of time. Once that embargo period ends, then maybe Denver does try to switch some things up by the end of the season. But it's not reasonable to talk about a trade right now because it just can't happen during the season. So I'm really not going to talk about that as much. What I'm going to talk about is how can Murray get back on track? How can Murray and how can the Nuggets effectively use Murray going forward? What is the action? I'm just going to ban this guy. What is the actual thing that's going on here? K Curls asks, Ryan, didn't you say he was dealing with some injuries? Honest question. That was my belief. I have been told since talking about the injuries that I'm fine. Like the actual, like it's not just injuries. There might be something small, but might be, I don't know. It's hard to talk about it because what I'm watching and what I'm seeing is somebody that can't jump and can't lift and can't move the same. But if you say that there's not an injury, then I have to talk about that there's not an injury. So Noam Chomsky asks, is it conditioning? I don't know. Murray and Malone both said preseason that he was in great shape. And is that a lie? I don't think so. But honestly, I thought that he was moving reasonably well. And I just more think it's mental at this point. I'm going to stop talking about it as an injury thing because you get told multiple times it's not an injury thing and you just have to start believing people. I'm not sure if I do, but it's hard to tell. So we did get a super chat. I missed a super chat here from Boyan. So thank you so much, Boyan, for super chatting in really quick. Is there a way we talk Detroit into Zeke for Reed? Are you talking Paul Reed? Has Paul Reed even played? Like let me go check Paul Reed's numbers real quick. That's a name that I hadn't heard in a little bit. He just signed there in the offseason. 7 games, 4 points, 1 rebound, 0 assists. Kind of wild. Why did he sign there? Like, actually, yeah, that's a good question. Why did he sign there? Jalen Duren was their starter. Isaiah Stewart was going to be their backup. So I'm not really surprised. So Paul Reed is their other guy. I just tend to think that that's not really going to solve anything for Denver. Like, honestly, Paul Reed isn't good enough over somebody like Dario or DeAndre or Zeke to really warrant the trade that it would take. He's definitely better than Zeke, but I don't know. Like, would Zeke be, or not Zeke, would Detroit be willing to do that? Like maybe try to get a more spacing big in there as opposed to a rim rolling big, somebody like Paul Reed that's more of a pick and roll guy. I don't know. Maybe it's something to explore. Denver obviously has to shake some things up, so we'll talk about that in a bit. When we come back, though, we're going to talk about closing with Russell Westbrook over Christian Braun, other thoughts that I have from this game, and talking about the Lakers matchup tonight. Only 2 segments today, so appreciate everybody for hopping in here, and appreciate Boyan for the super chat, obviously. But really quickly, want to tell everybody about number 38. I believe that we are doing a watch party with number 38 Mile High Sports is today, because CU and KU, Kansas, are playing, and this is an opportunity for CU to guarantee a spot in the Big 12 championship. Nobody really thought that CU was going to go to the Big 12 championship game, but here they are. Here they are having an opportunity. And if you want to go check out the venue and go hang out with people, have a good time, make sure to go down to number 38 and let them know that you came from Mile High Sports. Lots of fun, great drinks, great atmosphere, big screens, lots of different screens, and some delicious, delicious food. They've got brunch selections as well. So if you're looking to just go vibe and have a good time, number 38 is the place to go. We will be right back on Pickaxe and Roll. And we are back. Pickaxe and Roll, Ryan Blackburn here. Thank you so much for tuning into the show. Appreciate all the love and support on the podcast, folks. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you can. I will not be live tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to try to go back to more of a normal schedule and maybe do a few podcasts on like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I believe. And if not on Thursday of next week because it's Thanksgiving, maybe I will then do one on Saturday or something like that. We'll see what happens, but I'm going to try to get it back on a little bit more of a normal schedule. So thank you for the support as always. All right. I was going to talk about closing with Westbrook. I was going to talk about the Lakers game, and I'll talk about Denver's pecking order as well, something else that I brought up on Lockdown last night. Closing with Russ. Matt last night seemed to think that closing with Russell Westbrook over Christian Braun was a big deal for most of Nuggets Nation. Russell Westbrook, I think, earned the opportunity to close last night. If anything, he probably should have closed over Murray, if we're being honest, if we're talking about who was playing well, what Denver needed at that time. Russ probably could have closed over Murray and it would have been pretty good, or would have been like maybe giving Denver a better chance to win. Christian, I thought, also earned the opportunity to close, and he played well. He played well at the beginning of the game when Denver needed him. The problem that they ran into, Kyrie really was cooking in that first half. It wasn't just on Christian, to be clear, but I think Kyrie at one point was 6 of 9. He finished 7 of 19 in this game, and Denver switched over Peyton Watson onto him, and Peyton did a great job of contesting those shots, making them as difficult as possible. Klay Thompson was 0 of 8 from the field, 0 of 4 from 3. So there were some good things that Denver did on the defensive end. Just not enough of them, especially in the paint and protecting the paint. That's something that obviously they're going to have to figure out against this Dallas team, because Dallas is a great team at leveraging all of your weaknesses on the offensive end. Kyrie Irving, somebody that Denver obviously had to send a bunch of help at. But more than anything, it's the layers of attack that they have. They have shooters. They have guys that are willing and able to shoot, but they've also got drivers and they've got finishers at the rim. So it's difficult to make it work. But Peyton was great. He deserves a ton of credit. 3 blocks last night, 15, 5, and 3, 7 of 11 from the field, 1 of 3 from 3. But the 3 that he did hit was one to give Denver the lead, and that was great. So you're obviously going to close with Jokic. You're going to close with Porter. You're going to need Peyton to cover Kyrie Irving, and he earned that opportunity last night. The real question was between Jamal, Christian, and Russell Westbrook, who do you close with? Russ was a decent option, given that he shot 4 of 6 from 3. He was assisting really well. He only had 1 turnover. He had a couple steals. He was a net neutral on the evening, despite the fact that he played with Dario Saric in that first stint. And I thought that he handled himself reasonably well. And then DeAndre Jordan came in. Again, good minutes for DeAndre. He deserves a ton of credit. Ultimately, I don't know if I disagree with I think that Malone came to the wrong decision and he should have benched Murray. But I also understand why he didn't. I understand, because in that situation, you might lose a guy, and confidence, as Matt talked about on the show last night, it's a tough thing, and trying to figure out exactly how to handle this situation while Murray is in a slump. Malone in the years past has just stuck with him. He's never really benched him. He's never really done anything like that. He always closes with his guys, and more often than not, they come through. So if this continues, then I think that Denver should consider different options. Like, what if, like, when Aaron Gordon comes back, can you get to a Christian Braun, Peyton Watson, Michael Porter, Aaron Gordon, Nikola Jokic lineup and just be really big, feed Jokic in the post, and then cut and space and play aggressive defense? Like, that would be a crazy lineup to go to, but it's also a decent one. But Russ was the one to close last night. And again, 4 of 6 from 3 is a big deal. I do want to make note of this. He shot 1 of 7 from 2-point range, and he shot 2 of 5 from the free throw line. One of those free throws was an intentional miss. The other 2 were not. I think that, like, just looking at Russell Westbrook's numbers this year, 36.7% is crazy from 3. 35.6% from 2 is also crazy and deserves to be criticized. Like, that is a wild number. Now, he's still averaging 11.6 assists and 4 rebounds and 1.4 steals. He has been doing a bunch of the other stuff, but some of these drives to the rim are really bad. And the 2-point jumpers and everything like that is just, it's not good. So I don't know if he was the right call last night. Denver didn't really have a good situation, and that's where I kind of come down with that. I do think that Christian should have closed. He played good basketball. He shot the ball really well. 17 points, 6 of 9 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3, only 3 of 6 from the free throw line. That's something that he's got to figure out. Denver kind of regressing from the free throw line last night, missing 10 free throws in a game that they lost by 3. That is not good. That is something that bites you. Jokic missed a couple. MPJ missed one. It's funny. The only guys that didn't miss any were Julian Strawther, who got fouled on a 3-shot foul at the end of the first quarter, Jamal Murray, who missed a whole bunch of other shots, and Dario Saric, who was relatively horrible during his stint. So what can you do? Look, I do want to make this clear, though. Like, you know those numbers that I shared at the beginning, like during the Murray segment, about the plus minuses with a whole bunch of different guys? What that says to me is that if they get Murray back on track and then they get Gordon back, this team's really good. Like, they are really good. The starting lineup is great. Michael Porter has different layers to his game. Christian Braun has been awesome. Aaron Gordon, when he was out there, was great. If they get Murray back to where he needs to go, and then you keep Peyton Watson and Julian Strawther, and maybe Dario Saric gets back on track, or maybe Denver trades for another guy, or maybe they just play center by committee. This is a sneaky, really good team, like really good. And there are layers underneath that you can be pretty happy about. I just don't know if they'll ultimately get to that. And it all kind of hinges on if Murray is going to play good basketball or not. And if he can, then great. Like, Denver's in a really good place. I think he might have to change his game a little bit. He might have to shift away from, hey, wanting to be Steph Curry, wanting to be a guy who's like running the 2-man game all the time. It's the Steph Draymond pick and roll. It's the Jokic Murray 2-man game. Like, it may not be the same. So I'm curious to see what ultimately happens with it, what it looks like, and whether Denver can kind of get Murray going in the right direction. And it doesn't have to be like, I've been talking about the scoring because he's always wanted to be a scorer. If he is just averaging 18 points and 6 assists, but taking far fewer shots, and maybe Porter's taking more shots, maybe Michael Porter's the second option on the team now. Maybe Aaron Gordon is the second option on the team. Christian Braun, with the way that he's played, maybe there's some stuff there that Denver can explore. But Murray, like, while he's going through this, shooting himself out of it is probably not what I would do, because I just don't know what the ceiling is at that point. And I'm not sure if the consistency is there enough that if he does shoot himself out of it, there's still going to be a whole bunch of 5 of 17 games, so 7 of 19 games, things of that nature. So I think that Porter should take more shots. Last night, He started the game pretty slow. I think he was only 1 of 4 from the field in the first half, and then got 8 shots up in the second half. And he finished 7 of 12, 2 of 3 from 3, only 1 of 2 from the line, but he had 5 assists. Like, it was a decent game from Michael Porter on the offensive end. It turned out to be pretty solid. So maybe Denver's got to reorient themselves a little bit. And that might be pretty tough while Murray's in the position that he's in. But I do think that there is something to that. So we'll talk about it. We'll try to figure it out. Okay. Denver, Los Angeles tonight. Michael Malone did not get the win last night to go ahead of Doug Moe. He needs his 433rd win, and he could get it against the Lakers. If he doesn't get it against the Lakers, he's got another opportunity against the Knicks at home. But there's going to be some tough games. Lakers coming off of a pretty bad loss against Orlando. They had that game in the bag on Thursday. I think it was Thursday. And ultimately let it slip through their fingers. Anthony Davis missed a couple free throws, missed a game-winning bucket at the end, just did not operate well. Franz Wagner hit a massive shot right at the end of that game. Step back 3, down 2 with like 2 seconds left to go. Insane. Denver's going to have it tough tomorrow. The Lakers are obviously very bitter about the Nuggets overall. Denver's not in a great place with Murray right now to put him into a position where he could do what he usually does against the Lakers. Anthony Davis is playing great basketball. He is overall, like, people are talking about him as an MVP candidate. Oh, I guess, yeah, tomorrow, I'm sorry. It is tonight. It is like in 9 hours. So sorry. Like, I'm recording this on Saturday. It is Saturday when this game is going to happen. So my apologies. But yeah, I do think in general that Denver's going to be up a creek. And don't Santa Cruz says it here. Don't tell Santa Cruz. No Gordon to guard LeBron is a big deal. Gordon would generally do a really good job in this matchup. He puts a lot of relentless pressure on the rim, can hit those threes when he needs to. There's going to be some matchup issues. And K. Curl says it here. Dalton is going to be a problem. Dalton Connect has been very good for the Lakers so far this year. I am not just saying that. If you look up Dalton Connect numbers on like the season so far, he's shooting 11.7 points per game, 52% from the field, 46% from the three, 92% from the line. That dude is a shooter. He is great. And like, Denver can sometimes struggle against these shooters. They could sometimes struggle to close out and do all the things that they need to do. So the Lakers, I believe, are also undefeated at – oh, no, they're not undefeated at home because Orlando just beat them last night. But before that, they were undefeated. They have a great record at home so far. 3 wins there, 3 wins there. Yeah, they're 7-1. So it's a tough place to play right now. JJ Redick's got them playing the right way. So I'm curious to see how Denver can handle it. What do they do? How does Murray respond to this? That's also one of the good things about the NBA is that when you get a tough loss like Denver had last night, there's always another game to look forward to. There's always another game, another opportunity to bounce back and to play better. Now, this might be too soon, and Denver may not be able to bounce back in time. But Jokic generally has his way with Anthony Davis on the offensive end. The Lakers are going to have different coverages that they're going to try to throw at Jokic. And whether they can do it or not, that remains to be seen. If they try to throw Christian Koloko on Jokic, then Jokic should put him under the rim. And Michael Porter is often very good in these situations against the Lakers. And Don't Tell Santa Cruz has it in the comments again. Averaged 25 points on 55% shooting against the Lakers last year. It's a great call. Right now in the Lakers starting lineup, I believe they are starting Austin Reeves, Dalton Connect, and is it Cam Reddish most of the time? And then LeBron and AD. So which of those guys is MPJ, like, is going to be guarding MPJ? Is it LeBron? I doubt that LeBron's going to do it. LeBron will probably hang out on Peyton Watson and try to dare him to shoot some threes. That would be my guess. So maybe they put Cam Reddish on him and then they put Austin Reeves on Murray. They can probably get away with Austin Reeves on Murray because Murray's not playing great basketball right now. So that's one where Murray's going to have to punish that. He's going to have to find ways to get free. The Nuggets are going to have to find ways to generate open shots, and he's going to have to hit them. Question is whether he can make it work. I do think that Dario can play in this game because the other thing is Christian Coloco. What is he going to do? If Dario can't play in this game, then that is a degradation of Christian of Dario at this point. So we will see what ultimately happens. Peyton Watson's going to have his hands full with with LeBron. He's definitely giving up a bunch of pounds. Peyton's going to have to be very physical. He's going to have to play. LeBron's going to get a bunch of foul calls, and as he should in these situations when he's going downhill, there's not a lot that Peyton's going to be able to do with him unless he fouls. So Denver's going to need some reinforcements there. Who do they go to in the second unit? Who do they go to try to get a little bit more size on LeBron? Michael Porter might have to defend him a little bit. Peyton Watson will have to defend him a little bit. Christian Braun might guard him actually, that wouldn't surprise me if Denver decides to put Christian Braun on LeBron at various points and just say, hey, we're going to need to get some help. We're going to need to get some rotations. And maybe they put Russell Westbrook on LeBron. That would be some theater. Dayon with the late super chat. He says, Lakers daddy Malone will get a win tonight. Is that a prediction? That a prediction at this point? Can we say that the Nuggets are going to win in LA? That'd be a good bounce back. Denver, get the bad taste out of their mouth a little bit. That would be a good bounce back for the Nuggets for sure. That's all I got, folks. Thank you, Dayon, for the super chat. Really appreciate it. Thank you to Boyan for the super chat earlier. That is going to do it for this episode of Pickaxe and Roll, brought to you by the good friends over at BetOnline and number 38. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. Really appreciate it. Let me know in the comments what you think Denver will do tonight against the Lakers. I'm very curious to hear your results. Thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Really appreciate it. I will be back on Monday. We'll talk to you guys very soon.